Thanks, everybody. I actually need to read this because I'm going to put some dates in here. So dates contained in this document, estimates only. We have the right to change our mind at any time. We're going to talk about modern enterprise compute. Who am I? Certainly, who am I to be talking to a bunch of developers? My name is Keith Schoenefeld. I'm the head of enterprise compute at Jack Henry. My job fundamentally is to identify all the products that we have at Jack Henry, identify what platform they run best on, and then figure out how to get them there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. We are starting a new project within Jack Henry. It's called EC 2030. You'll probably hear that leak out. That's the internal project name. Fundamentally, it's our enterprise compute program. Again, what we're doing is trying to identify where we want all of our applications running in the long term. So the fact that they've been running on whatever Windows VMs for 40 years isn't really relevant. How do we want to run them? How can we most effectively serve our clients? How do we move forward? And this is essentially the decision we've made. Our non-foundational core applications are going to move to Google Cloud Platform. All of them. If we can't, for some reason, put them on Google Cloud, we're going to have a Challenger Cloud. And if for some reason we can't get them on a Challenger Cloud, we'll continue to run them out of our leased data center facilities. Our foundational cores, Silver Lake, SIF 2020, Core Director, Scimitar, those are going to continue to run in our leased data center facilities for the foreseeable future. This is a significant shift for Jack Henry. And here's part of why. So when you look at our data centers, and I'll explain some of these acronyms in a moment, but when you look at the connectivity into Jack Henry, we've got things running in Google Cloud, we've got things running in Azure today. You've got the internet. All traffic coming into Jack Henry flows in through Chicago or Dallas. We have Equinix facilities, CH2, DA6. We flow our traffic in through one of those two spots. And then it hits a Jack Henry wide area network, and then it lands in one of our data centers. Maintaining this many data centers is expensive, not just from the standpoint of facilities, not just from the standpoint of equipment, but from the standpoint of people. Making sure you have people in the right spots to respond effectively when things happen is critically important. And so running this many facilities ends up being problematic. For full disclosure, LKS, that's our Lenexa, Kansas data center. We actually exited that in January. SMO stands for Springfield, Missouri. JN1 is Jack Henry North 1. That is our North Colo. It's in Aurora, Illinois. BMO is Branson. ATX is our newer Allen, Texas data center. We moved into that in 2018. A2 is our old Allen data center. It's in an office building. And then MMO is our Monette, Missouri data center. So I'm going to come back to this in just a second. But this is what we're going to look like in 2029. Pretty significant difference. Still flowing traffic through Chicago and Dallas. All that's left is JN1 and ATX. Again, this is an efficiency thing for us, making sure that we understand how to cost effectively manage and run our systems to support our clients is critical, and that's what we're going to be trying to do here. So when you look here, you'll also notice that Challenger Cloud is undecided at this time. We've not signed any contracts. Can't tell you where it's going to be yet, but we're trying to identify where that Challenger Cloud will be. Google Cloud will continue to be our primary. I'm going to go back here for just a second and talk a little bit about some of the other pieces. So one of the things that we've been tracking at Jack Henry for quite some time, and I should have put this on a slide, but we've been tracking at Jack Henry for quite some time, is the actual cost to run Windows VMs in our data centers. And what we've found as we've worked through our deal with Google and others, what we've found is that we're actually at a crossroads. The amount of money that we spend running Microsoft VMs in our data centers and the amount of money we spend running Microsoft VMs in Google is essentially the same. And so the other piece here for us, and I got asked this question actually earlier this week, one of the questions was, why would you do this when everybody else seems to be moving back? We've been tracking our workloads, how our workloads operate, et cetera. We believe we can do this in a cost-neutral fashion for Jack Henry. At the same time we're doing it for a cost-neutral fashion, we're also going to update our operations. We're going to make sure that everything is automated. And so as we're working on pieces, there's no more manual clicking, there's no more any of that stuff. Everything is built out of Terraform, Ansible to automate operations, et cetera. And so there's really an operational aspect to this as well. So fundamentally, moving to data centers, also updating, modernizing, making sure that our operations are as effective as possible, which helps us significantly when it comes to disaster recovery, business continuity, those sorts of things. I also want to mention some changes and some connectivity options. So Chad alluded to this earlier, but JExchange, it's public internet. You can also access it via VPN. You are going to have to migrate your authentication mechanism to OAuth 2. That'll be required by April 2028. That is actually part of this whole enterprise compute program from the standpoint that we're going to be shutting down JExchange on-prem in our data centers and doing the migration. We've actually already got it built to JExchange Cloud. So when you convert to OAuth 2, you're going to convert to JExchange running in the cloud as part of that process. SIM exchange, support public internet, VPN IPsec. The change here is that we're going to shift to MTLS and/or VPN IPsec that's going to be required by November 28. That's still sort of something that's hanging out there for us that we have not managed as effectively as I would have liked to see us do it. So we've announced the change. As of November 2028, you're going to have to move to MTLS or VPN IPsec. You're not going to be able to access it more directly. And then file transfers, of course, VPN and IPsec. So I gave this presentation at a client, and I had this wonderful stack of rocks on the side talking about how enterprise compute was going to create sort of a foundation upon which all of these products can be built. And Mac decided at the very first question in front of a client that came out of his mouth was, what do the rocks stand for? And so I told him I was going to change the slide up for the next presentation. Unabashedly want to be part of the Mac attack, Mac pack, Mac and cheat, whatever they're called. I want to be part of that group too. So, but seriously, from a developer benefit standpoint, these are the big pieces for Jack Henry and for our clients. We're going to have some reliable high-speed entry points for Jack Henry. So going back to this slide, when you look at how our data centers were selected, I'll even go back to this slide. When you look at how our data centers were selected years ago, we generally thought about how do we get our cores as close to our clients as possible. Well, you don't talk directly to our cores, or at least your customers don't talk directly to our cores anymore. The question is really, how do we get you as close to the front end, to the API, the JX API, et cetera? That's the question now. And those are going to be sitting in Google Cloud and Azure. Well, Google Cloud and Challenger Cloud. And so in this new setup, the data centers maybe don't need to be in JN1 and ATX. They don't need to be in 7 different data centers. We need to make sure that they are as close to Google Cloud and our Challenger Cloud as possible. And so it completely changes the way we think about data centers. So reliable high-speed entry points to Jack Henry, those are all going to be through Google. Enhanced security. As we're developing and deploying these platforms to Google, we are making sure that we take a quick review. If there are any security concerns or things that we've let slide for a little bit, we're making sure we update those. And also just inherently, as you start to operationalize this stuff and automate this stuff, you get more consistency across the stack. Jack Henry historically has allowed things to sort of be siloed. And so each group did their own thing. There's going to be some standardization that happens as we make these moves as well. Reliability and stability improvements, it's really the same thing. As we move into Google, we're going to be thinking about how we want to build resilient systems differently. Right now, I think all of you know, we have a tendency to go 12 months in a location and then wholesale shift to another data center. That's fantastic that we can do that, but it's also time consuming to do that each time. And so what if all of a sudden, instead, we said anything with an RTO of less than 12 hours needs to be modernized after we move to Google, needs to be modernized and then needs to run active-active across 2 regions. So significantly improving the reliability over time. Better performance and scalability, I talked already about some of the operational pieces that we were going to have, but also making sure that we're looking at those key metrics to make sure that we're scaling up, scaling down appropriately, or even switching regions automatically appropriately. Faster delivery of new features. As you move things into the cloud, I think you all have all seen this and experienced this from Jack Henry, our fastest development circles, our rounds, are coming out of our digital team right now that's moved to the cloud, developed very rapid. You talked about SRE earlier and some of the ways that we can do our development and enhance our performance and capabilities with our systems. They can deliver new features much faster than we can in our old systems. As we move to the cloud and also modernize then, we're going to be able to start delivering that across our entire product line. And then improve compliance posture. I talked earlier about the incredible consistency that we're going to get across this as we move things to the cloud. That also helps compliance. And it doesn't only help compliance for Jack Henry, it helps compliance for our clients. We recognize that many of our clients use us to make sure or to demonstrate their compliance to their regulators. And so the more consistent we can be, the more baked in regulations and compliance are into our systems and how we configure our systems, the easier it makes things for us and the easier it makes things for you. And that's all I've got.